which he took as the mode of his expressing Tractatus. But at the same time, when he was talking about the limit of the language, because how can we talk about the limit if we cannot have access to the beyond? So, may not be able to state in detail what is there, but still some kind of awareness is very much required, essential. And in this connection, of course, I would like to quote again some passages which I have collected from another of yes, this I have collected again from another of the texts where now definitely I see a fourth reading of the Tractatus is in offing, because we have seen that one earlier Wittgenstein was very much taken to be a logical positivist. Logical positivists were very eager to bring Wittgenstein in their camp, and later on we find that resolute readers, they are trying to explain Wittgenstein by reference to philosophical investigations, and the approach of the resolute readers to a certain extent resembles the approach of the logical positivists. And also there are ineffabilists. Of course, I do not totally disagree with the ineffabilist, but also it is not possible to accept all that has been said by the ineffabilist, because among the ineffabilist there are also degrees, there are also variations. And definitely I see the possibility of a fourth reading of the Tractatus. And Wittgenstein on April 1917, in response to Engelmann's letter with a poem, I have read that the same passage has been the passage that I am going to present before you. That passage has been utilized by the resolute readers. It has been utilized by James Conant, and James Conant and others have tried to utilize it something as going in favor of resolute reading of the Tractatus. But I differ, and of course I am not in a position to explain it now, but I would just refer to that quotation. So in Wittgenstein on April 4, 1917, in response to Engelmann's letter with a poem enclosed Traun Eberhard's Hawthorne by Ludwig Uhland, wrote back immediately. Wittgenstein again a letter. The poem by Uhland is really magnificent. And this is how it is. If only you do not try to utter, if you do not try to utter what is unutterable, then nothing gets lost. This is very interesting thing. If only you do not try to utter what is unutterable, then nothing gets lost. But the unutterable will be unutterably contained in what has been uttered. And I think this is the line I would like to develop further. That is, the unutterable will be unutterably contained in what has been uttered. That is, some of the passages I was quoting from Schloss Berger. In fact, his paper that was written long back in 1978 in Acta Philosophica, in one of the issues dealing with Wittgenstein's work. There he discussed in detail the very intentionality of language, and this idea, I think, can be connected here with the unutterably containing in what has not been, in what has been uttered. In what has been uttered, unutterable will be contained. And this also reminds me Wittgenstein's very notion of sense in logical space. Now, when he is talking about sense, when he is talking about determinacy of sense and how these are determined, and when he talks about facts, that is facts which are just combinations of existing states of affairs and which are combinations of non-existing states of affairs, that is sometimes referred to as negative facts. Now, when he is talking about negative facts, some such clue is there in Wittgenstein, because positive facts determine negative facts. That is, he does not admit negative facts to be something over and above positive facts. That is, negative facts are contained within the positive facts. That means when something is said in an affirmative way, that is, when something is said in this way, that X is P, from this utterance, by implication, that is, if X is P is true, it is existing in the world, that X is P, then from its the negation, that is not P, follows. But for that, Wittgenstein emphasized that we need not project one independent negative fact existing in the world, in the reality. So it was, we can say, in a way, even if it was not uttered, if it remains unuttered, it is content within the uttered.
We can briefly conclude. Sorry, we can briefly conclude now. I mean, there will be questionnaire sessions.
Okay, yes. Just I'm coming to the end. So when Wittgenstein here talks about so many things which seems that these are all beyond the range of logical space, but actually we can take these are all contained within the very notion of logical space, because if we want to understand the very notion of logical space, we have to be aware about the limit of the logical space, and also to be aware of the limit of the logical space, we need to go beyond logical space in that sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sanyal. Yeah. Now I would like to request Professor Pradhan to give his observation.
We are thankful to Professor Sanyal for her talk on a wide-ranging issues concerning the Tractarian, from its motto to its nonsensicality. I will touch upon the central point of our contention, that the idea of nonsense, which occurs in the Tractarian, has a wide-ranging meaning. It is not only a very sensible nonsense, but also, in a sense, a meaningful nonsense. Some people call it I think illuminating nonsense, and like that. The point is, The the statement Wittgenstein makes towards the end of the Tractatus regarding the ladder. She has highlighted the point of the ladder, the use of the ladder, and also the significance of the ladder by quoting from Schopenhauer, from Martner, and also to some extent from Kierkegaard. I think that is one of the central contentions of our lecture. Whether there is any revocation of the book, revocation of what Wittgenstein has written in the Tractatus. I think there may be some opinion, some conflict of opinion here, whether there is a complete withdrawal or it is only saying that what has been said in the Tractatus is nonsensical because they could not have been said in language. In fact, they should have been left in silence. That is the last sentence of the book, that whatever we cannot speak clearly, we must pass over in silence. So that is perhaps makes it clear that the book is containing nonsensical statements not because it has to be thrown away, and as he rightly points out, it has to be transcended. I think that is the right way of taking it. Revoking has a very drastic meaning that we must not even take into account. But if you don't take into account the book, the propositions that are mentioned, which however nonsensical they may be, you cannot see the world aright. So the ultimate aim is, in Schopenhauer's words, it is knowledge. And in Wittgenstein's words, it will be seeing the world aright. That means seeing the reality right. That is the complete knowledge of what reality is, including the self, the world, and rest of it. Now, therefore, the concept of revocation will not be appropriate. Concept of transcendence will be appropriate. And the word beyond also occurs in Pierce and McGuinness translation. One has to go beyond them. Why does he suggest that there is a beyond? And Professor Sanyal has also made mention of it. She belongs to those readers of the Tractatus who accept the concept of a beyond. Though the beyond, the unalterable, may be contained in the alterable, but that doesn't mean that the unalterable doesn't exist. So even if the unalterable is contained in the alterable, the unalterable still remains. The point that she has really conveyed to us, and with sufficient argument, is that there is the possibility of reading, a fourth reading, as she suggests, in which we can take the Tractatus not simply as the result readers will suggest, it contains only nonsense and nothing beyond. But that will be really injustice to Wittgenstein, because as Professor Sanyal herself said, that there is a duality in Wittgenstein's Tractatus. At one level, it is a logical text, and there is also indication that he remains, personally speaking, a mistake. It will not be out of the way to suggest that Wittgenstein's had many more things to do than the Tractatus. Tractatus is one of his adventures, and perhaps with due respect to his two gurus, Russell and Frege, he remained a logically committed thinker. But was he really content? Was he really satisfied with that logical point of view? And that he was not satisfied, he has expressed in his reactions to Russell's introduction to his book, that Russell has not understood him, because Russell wanted to portray him as a logical thinker, and therefore whatever was mystical in the Tractatus, Russell really called it unwarranted. But that was not the case. Really, Wittgenstein was something in his mind while working out the Tractatus. This is one point on which I agree with Professor Sanyal, that we must read the Tractarians more liberally, not resolutely. Because resolute may mean that there is a definite standpoint which is always true, and Wittgenstein always defies all these fixation of standpoints. He liberated himself all the isms, as you all know, because he knew that philosophy is an open-ended quest, and therefore we cannot really confine it to one straitjacket. Another point which I will just mention, and others will also have questions. One is the motto itself, as she has highlighted, and she has really referred to the fact that somebody has written a whole thesis on the word motto, on the motto itself. I think that is great. And if you ever read it, it will be really a great discovery. Two things, as he has highlighted. One is that whatever a man knows, which is not a rambling and which is not a roaring, he is really ruling it out. That knowledge has nothing to do with roaring or or rambling. Knowledge is clear, something clear, and knowledge must be transparent. Knowledge must be, in the higher sense of the term, must be taking us to the truth, if we can put it in a common language, to the reality. Then in that case, it can be expressing three words. Of course, those three words are not mentioned. What are those three words? It means that briefly we can do it. I think one warning is that when you know the truth, it doesn't require words. It doesn't require words to express the truth. Truth is a matter of realization, of seeing, and therefore the words don't count. I think that also could be a meaning, because it really agrees with his last statement of the Tractatus. After writing everything, he says that all that can be said clearly. I think he has said the sayable clearly, the unsayable, to which he is committed, he says it has to be left over in silence or passed over in silence. That means if language claims to occupy the whole space, if language claims to express everything that man knows, that is never possible, because language has its limits, as Professor Sanyal has repeatedly suggested, that it has limits. So what is left out of language, which is very significant for Wittgenstein, must be accepted, and accepted with silence. So I think Professor Sanyal has given us ample food for thought on a wide range of issues, with textual evidence and wide reading of hers, and that gives us really to relook at the Tractatus. And thank you, Professor Sanyal, for such a scholarly presentation, an excellent presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now the paper is open for discussion. So if you have any question, please put the question to the speaker, or if you wish to put it in the chat box, that's also fine with us.
Hello, may I?
Yeah, yes, Purvayan, please.
Good evening, Professor Pradhan sir, Professor Imdrani Sharma madam, and Ranjanda, everyone. So it was every time we it's also reviewing the text because this is so magical that whether it is Tractatus or philosophical investigations, the readings and rereadings so many different what we have read earlier. Next time when we